Hello and thanks for watching this Cloud9 ERP Solutions video and subscribing to our channel. In this video, we're going to talk about vendor credits, how to enter them into the system, and how to apply them. So let's get started. We have two scenarios, one of which is the vendor provides a credit memo. There's a credit memo number, and you need to log that into the system so that your system, Acumatica, is aligned with the vendor system. In the other scenario, we're just entering a vendor credit, and we're doing so to clean up a mess maybe that we made. The first thing we're going to do is enter the vendor's credit memo into the system. So we go to Bills and Adjustments. But before we do that, I want to show you the vendor details screen. Vendor details screen, it's one of my favorite screens in that it shows you a list of all the transactions that are open by default with these checkboxes unchecked. It shows you all the transactions that are open, meaning they have a balance of some sort. So if we select, for example, Dewsoft Toy Supply, what you see here are, like I said, 3 bills that are open. They have a balance. And we're showing this first so that we can see the natural progression as we get our credit memo entered and as we apply it. So the first thing we can do is either through this menu or from the payables is we want to enter the vendor's credit. So we're going to select New Bills and Adjustments. We'll open up into that tab. I'm going to leave the vendor details open here. And we change the type to debit adjustment. We'll select the date. This should coincide with the vendor's credit date. That'll make it easier for tracking. You may choose to change the post period only if you want the vendor's credit to show up in that same financial period. So when you're looking at your P&L, you can see it accordingly. We'll put in the credit memo number. We'll select the vendor. Had we initiated this from the vendor details screen, this would have been filled in for us. And then we'll add a line item. Now keep in mind, if this was a return or an adjustment of inventory, we're going to go to purchasing, go into purchase receipts, and do an adjustment there. We may return product back to the vendor. In this case, we're just going to take a discount, and that's how we're going to apply it. So let's say, for example, it's $10,000. And we'll choose our GL account for a discount taken. And then we'll remove the hold and we'll release it. Now, if we go back to vendor details and we refresh, we can see, along with the other 3 bills, the debit adjustment and the amount, $10,000. Now that we have the credit, we have a couple of options. We could either apply it to the next payment, because maybe we're doing a check run and we want to take that $10,000 against it, or we can simply apply it to an existing bill and we're not really ready to do a check run. So we'll go back to Acumatica. We'll write a check. We'll start with that, a new payment. We'll select the payment date. We'll select the vendor. And we have a couple of options here. Either we click the plus button and start to add our bills manually, or we can hit load documents, which will include everything out there. So if we hit load documents, you can see we get 1 bill and 1 debit adjustment. Now, one common mistake a lot of customers use when they're using Acumatica is they can't find the bill. We go back to the vendor details. We see there's 3 bills here, but only one's showing up. This is because there's another payment out there that hasn't been released, but it has that bill associated with it. So if we were to go back and to look for payments that are on hold or balanced, we would find some that have those other bills attached. In fact, if we go to the vendor details and we show include unreleased documents, you could see there's a payment here. It's printed, but it's not released. And if we open it up, I'm sure that it includes the other 2 bills. But anyway, if we go back to checks and payments, we can see now with the bill, $117,500 plus the $10,000 debit, we're reflecting $107,000 and $500. So we can come in here, finish off the payment amount, remove the hold, print the check, and we're done. And that's how we can apply that debit against a outgoing payment. Now, in case you're wondering, this whole thing with debit adjustment, credit adjustment, debit adjustment is how it reflects to us. Even though it's a vendor credit on their side, it's a debit on our side. We will use credit adjustments over for our accounts receivable and applying credits for customers. So just keep that in mind. That's why we use a debit adjustment, even though it's a vendor credit. Okay, so the next example is we want to just apply it to a bill prior to making any kind of payments or further transactions. So if we go back, first thing we want to do is delete this payment because, again, we won't be able to apply it to this bill, or the debit adjustment won't be available because it's already on an active payment, even though the payment's still on hold. So we're going to delete this. And now, in order to apply our debit adjustment against an existing bill, we'll change our payment type to debit adjustment. We'll look up the payment, which is this right here. You could see the amount. It shows up here, $10,000. Now we can apply it to a bill or multiple bills to offset it. So we hit the plus button. It adds a line item here. The type is bill. We'll find our only open bill because, once again, those other two bills are on another payment. We'll apply it. It's applying the $10,000. Notice the balance. There's a $107,000 balance remaining after we apply that. This changes on the fly. So if we change this to $5,000, you now have a $112,500 balance. So we could apply this debit adjustment to as many different bills as we want, but we'll change it back to $10,000 and we'll release it. Now, if we go back to vendor details and we uncheck this box, it's going to refresh the screen as if we hit the refresh here. And what we're going to see here is this $10,000 debit and this $117,000 bill are going to get updated. So we'll check this. The debit goes away. The bill gets updated because, again, our balance has been adjusted by $10,000. So now for our next example, we want to simply apply a vendor credit to clean up the books. So the vendor doesn't know anything about this. Maybe we posted a bill and it was inaccurate, and we just want to clean things up. So let's go back, and let's say it's this bill. And let's use an example from automatic data processing. So what we see here are two bills that are outstanding. And let's say, for example, one of them was supposed to be $3,000, not the $3,064.61. So what we can do there is create a new bill. We'll change it to debit adjustment. We'll give it a vendor reference. Again, keep in mind, we're not getting a number from the vendor. We're just doing this internally. So we can just put in, for example, our initials, pick the vendor. We can give it a description. So we can say, for example, if we go back, that this particular bill adjust by $64.61. We'll add our line item. $64.61 is the extended amount. And our account will be some sort of payroll processing service fee, which is typical for this vendor. Now we'll remove the hold and release it. Now, in order to apply this to the bill, we want to apply it to this bill right here. We'll go back to checks and payments. We'll create a new one. We'll select this new debit adjustment for $64.61. We'll select our bill to apply it against. We're applying it against this particular reference number, 5374. And we're going to apply the full amount, $64.61, which leaves us with a $3,000 even balance. We'll click release. And now when we go back to our vendor details and we refresh it, you can see the new balance of $3,000 on this bill. So we just cleaned house internally, and now our books are correct. And you may see this over time. You may see certain vendor bills. There may be a penny here or something like that. This allows you to clean these things up so that your books are solid. So that's how to handle a vendor credit. We showed the two examples where the vendor's providing a credit memo or where we're just cleaning things up. And on the provided credit memo, we showed you how to do it on the fly with a check run, or if we just want to apply it in advance and we're not ready to make a payment. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, please click the like button. And if you have any questions about this or anything else Acumatica, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, and have a great day.